Yes, welcome back to part 2 of our screencast of the pot shop with Nils, Emil, and David. This is Nils speaking, and in this part, we thought of showing you the actual code behind the application and how it works together. We will basically do some. There's a lot of code, and we will only focus on a few parts of the code that's interesting that you can actually relate to changes in the application that's happening online, and also a few of those problems that we had or solved or that we just want to mention as our work have progressed. So let's move first to our file structure basically. So this is in our project TDDD27 2015, David, Emil, and Nils. And as you can see, we have a client server division structure as a model view control system where you have the server side here and the client side here, and as well as the components from the node modules in the first view. In the first part, I'd like to show you our server configuration, meaning how do we build our server side from for the product that's pretty essential and central to our application. So let's view that, and I'll open the Sublime application for that. So here you see the product model.js, and that's actually, as you know, the blueprint for how we want to store our data and how as a model product should have. So that has a name, text, cost, category, and an image. And as you've seen on our web page, this is on the view page here. It has a text, it has a cost, and it has all these different things that we have situated in our module. So the module is placed on the server side here in the API and product, and you have the model here. But the model, it has to be controlled by something, and that's the product controller JS. And that actually states all the functions, what you could do with and how to remove or add in the model, so alter things in the model or add a new model. So this is the product controller JavaScript, which handles showing, get a list of a product, how to show a single product, export image or create, update, and destroy here. And this is stated in the product controller that it's connected together in the through the require here. The controller has a required model, and that's how it could use it. And from the client side, the request for using this product controller and product model goes first through the index.js file, who's also placed in the same level here as the index file, and that tells Express which commands could be used to connect to different functions in the controller, like show image, create, update, destroy. Indexes get the list of products or just show a product here, and that's the route specified here in the index file for Express to use. On a level above that, on the server side, let's go to the server side here. We have the route.js, and that's another functionality of getting routes from the client side, actually using routes to access the different models and the different controllers for the models. And let's view in the route.js side here. As you see here, we have our different models: a user model, the product model, and promotion model, and that's basically let's Express use our models and controllers from the client side, and has to be specified here too for access. So that's basically how we constructed the server side, and it's basically the same for all the different models, like user or promotion, for instance, but different like different functionalities and maybe different specified items for like strings or text or whatever needed for a good construct of a model. So that's how that works. So let's move on to our client side. That is in this folder app, and what we wanted to show you today is the nav bar that is on top of our page here. This is the nav bar, and wanted to show exactly how that works and how the responsiveness works and how it connects to our products and our list of promotions. Basically, the nav bar itself is connected in many ways to most parts of the application. And let's do a thing that I showed you in the last video. Let's add this product to the cart, and when we add it, you'll see the response here that says one unique product is added to the cart. And let's see how that works in our code. So let's go to navbar here, and let's put up the navbar controller here. First of all, let's view this one. As a function here, we have stated that we want to include the shopping cart.service package. That's the shopping cart service package is what contains the cookies for the user at that point. As when you add a product to the cart, a cookie will increase its value by 1, saying you have one unique product and the ID of that product. So that's what we included here in the navbar as well to get the responsiveness. And that's also the scope here. Cart unique products is shopping cart get unique products, which is a function in the shopping cart service package, which is on the client side here in components. You have the shopping cart here, which with all the functions, but we won't go into that deeper right now. So this is basically, we have a scope here that we can access in the HTML to show what different unique products we have and have a responsive navbar basically. So here in the navbar, if we expand this a bit, you'll see it more clearly. The navbar is a fluid fixed top, and so it moves when we scroll. But it also is responsive in the way we use, which we've used the powerful tools in Angular here. ng show and ng hide, depending on if you're administered or you're logged in, or if you're not. As you've seen in the previous film, we showed that when you've logged in as an administrator, there were all different kinds of items in the menu as messages or admin. And of course, we don't want to show that for the customer. So that's basically what we used ng show and ng hide here. And for example, here in the drop down, this is a drop down for products, and they were using another tool of the Angular here that we stated, the category, for example, and that is here in the JS file here, where you get the products here. This is what we talked about before. This is the route stated, the API/products in routes.js, so we could access all products. And get was also stated as a function to go to index to get the product list. As you can show, it actually connects to this function index that finds all the different products in the categories and gives us a list basically. So there you have it here, scope as categories, and that's why we can use the tool here in the tool in AngularJS to actually list all categories let me see here. And we also use another tool, ngRepeat, which we have found really useful for all types of lists and all types of showing messages and stuff like that. We've used ngRepeat all over, really. And that's how our navbar is responsive and is working with the different sides of the application. So we've found that AngularJS has really stepped up. In the beginning, it was a bit hard to understand the width of the applicable functions, but it's sooner we realized that was really like an easy and really useful tool for all these really easy commands, and just to access the scope and then just repeat it with ngRepeat, for instance, and using the double hashes. So that has been a really good function, and we really have appreciated it. So let's talk a bit about the problems in development we had so far. And first of all, the scope for us haven't been like really a clear thing. We've actually had some problems with not really been on the same level all the time, statuating what we actually want to do. As mentioned in the previous video, the scope was easy, like we know what a web shop is, but there's so many different functionalities in a web shop that you could pretty much go on forever and implement it. So it took some time for us to really get on the same level and knowing exactly, having writing down some sort of action lists and knowing all the items that we really want to implement. So in the code in some places, and there's some functionalities in our application that's a bit of a loose end. We have done something to like 25 or 50%. There are definitely some loose ends, and that took a lot of time from in development, not setting the requirements or the actual functionalities that we really wanted to have. For instance, as I mentioned, the users that we from the start we wanted as a customer can log in and be a user and user information. But since we didn't want to implement the actual function from buying a product, and we stopped there, the user is just there as a pretty much a loose end, but you could definitely build on it later on, and that's what we wanted as well, to have an application we could use in the future. And so in some ways it's not a finished product because there's a bit of loose ends, but we were here to learn about the frameworks, and that's what we've done. A second problem that we had was implementing the app on OpenShift. And since we use sockets, the OpenShift server has only 2 ports open for WebSockets, and that's 8,000 and another port. But that led to like a configuration error for us, and it took quite some time to figure that out, what's really been happened. But we managed to solve it by routing through AT, and then let actually the WebSocket fail to fall back on our socket and then get the HTTP requests. So that actually made it work. It sounds weird to let it fail, but that's how we managed to do it, since the OpenShift here at IDA only used two routes, two ports. We had a bit of problem with that, but we actually solved that. We can't really show you any code in that instance, but that was a major problem for us. We also had some problems, as mentioned in the previous video about uploading images, that it didn't update the page even though we use socket sync updates. And that means like the application would always know that the database had been updated, but the actual image in the browser didn't change, and that was because the image was saved in the browser cache. And we've tried long and hard to figure that out, and how to empty the browser cache, or ask the browser to empty its cache and then fill it again. But that hasn't really turned out to work as yet, and we're really interested in how it actually works. So that's a problem we haven't solved really. But since most of the times when you upload an image, or all the times you upload an image in this application, you do it as an administrator, and the administrator could actually know that you have to update the page to see the changes. If it was a problem that the customers were affected by it, it will be a bit of more a big thing, but it's mitigated in that way, in that sense, we think, at least. So is there anything else? I'm just asking my teammates here that we need to go through.
Did you go through number 4 there?
Number 4.
That we increased the...
Yeah, exactly. We had a bit of problem just uploading image in the right size as well, but that was we had a control in our controller. Oh, sorry about that. We had a size restriction for our controller. Let me just show you in our client side here in the app. Let's product or edit product. Here is where you actually add a new product with a picture. And I'm not going to run through all the code here, but we actually have a test here to see that the image is not too big. This is the size that we've stated that we wanted to have. But it seemed like Express was overriding this size, even though we have pictures smaller than this size. We couldn't actually upload the image. It said in our terminal that it did not work because it was oversized, and that was connected to our server side in the API here in app.js, right? And let me open that one. And that was because we didn't have a set maximum for it. It has the Express has obviously a maximum size set if you don't specify it, and that size was a lot smaller than what we had on our client side here. So what we did was we statuated or set the maximum ourselves to 16 megabyte. That was the same as in the client side, and that solved our problem with uploading larger images. Yes. So this was a part where we showed a bit of code and talked a bit about problems, and you also saw how our navbar is responsive and how it works. As you see, that will log in, log out, the different items in the menu and such. So that concludes the second part of our screencast, and thank you very much for watching.